This is Blue Bottle Rebrand here with Jimmyoluke to talk about his experiences with GTA Roleplay. Jimmy's a great GTA role player and streamer who has played some amazing characters. I mainly got to know him by interacting with his DOC character, Tim Wright, on Onyx. Jimmy told me recently that he decided to stop doing GTA roleplaying, so I thought this was a good time to do an interview and ask some questions about his experiences. I was inspired to do this as a podcast interview type thing by the GTA role player Simo. Simo did this podcast after the Jasper Saxon arc on NoPixel 3.0. He got a group of most of the people involved, including Mike Horrible, to do a breakdown discussion of the story, and I found it really interesting. So it was great to hear about what happened behind the scenes and getting different perspectives. So yeah, thanks, Jimmy, and welcome. Thanks for doing this interview. So I've got a bunch of questions to ask, but yeah, I'm also happy to go off script and have a broader discussion as well, as you like. So first off, do you want to introduce yourself a bit and talk about your interests?
Well, thank you very much. My name is Jimmy. Jimmyoluke is my Twitch. I've been doing the GTARP thing since 2016. Yeah, I really got into it first. I mean, the main reason I got into it was I'm a military guy. I know that you know that, but I ended up coming up with this medical condition, which had me going from where my normal work cycle was. I was sometimes away from home for 9 months of the year. And after this medical thing happened, I went from being away from home for 9 months of the year to never leaving home. So I got very stir crazy. And that's where I started getting, first thing I kind of got into before I got into the GTRP thing was I started getting into cosplay. And from there, that's where I found Twitch through a friend I made on Instagram, who was also a big cosplayer. But she also ended up playing a bunch of GTA, which I've never heard of, like a GTARP server. I never knew that kind of stuff existed. And so I kind of got interested in that. And I'm sitting there watching a lot of these stories unfold. I'm like, you know what? This is really kind of cool. I used to love writing short stories, and I would write short stories all the time, just little things here and there about just about anything. And I was in the first little bit of RP that I ever did was actually on a website called IMVU. I would not recommend going there now because, my God, that place went toxic so quickly. But there's a lot of text-based RP, and I really got into it there. But after watching my friend on Twitch doing the GTARP, I was like, oh my God, this is really kind of cool. So then that's when I started like looking into it, and then I went and created an account. I put in an application, and I mean, then it kind of went from there. But yeah, it was quite literally, I was watching her do her thing, and there's a cop or a person that was playing a cop that really kind of grabbed me because the guy was so good at what he was doing. I was like, is this guy an actual cop in real life? Like the way he did everything, I was like, he is really good. And then I got to know him, and he's like, no, he worked in a factory, like he worked in a warehouse type thing. And I was like, holy crap! Like seeing how involved people were getting and how much fun it looked like, I was like, I got to get into this. And I got into it, and I got into it in a rough start. My first character was horrible. It was, I swear to God, if I would be on any of the servers now and I would play that character, I would probably get banned off of servers with how poorly my RP was.
What was so horrible about him?
Because I was so kind of fresh and nervous, I had certain things in my mind that I wanted to do, and I wasn't quite comfortable yet with just doing things off the cuff. So there's literally one part where I was reading off of paper when I was talking to someone about something. I literally wrote something up, and I was reading it off of fucking paper. And I was like, and then after that kind of went through, I got that kind of character out of the way. And this is something where I will always tell people, when you're first starting off in GTARP, never make the character you want to make first. Make a throwaway character. Make someone where you can learn the ropes. Whether it's learning the ropes of the specific server that you're on, or just learning the ropes of RP in general if you've never done RP before. Because I guarantee you, no matter who you are, it's going to start off a little bit rough. It's not going to go how you think it's going to go. Things are going to happen, whether it's trying to deal with the RP and the mechanics of whatever server you're into, because all servers are kind of different. Some of the key bindings are a lot the same, but a lot of the mechanics for different servers are so different that you're trying to concentrate on what the mechanics are, and you kind of forget about the RP, and you get confused, and then things kind of fall apart on you, and it can make the character that you want just turn into something that's not all that good and something you're not happy with, which might end up having you want to kind of get away from RP.
I'm actually happy with my current character, but she didn't turn out at all as I really planned. I was sort of targeting her to be a bit more outgoing and competent, but yeah, trying to learn all the all the mechanics around the prison and getting used to all the SOPs and that, it's been a bit of a struggle, but hey, I'm hoping she can like grow to be a bit better over time, and she's doing okay.
Yeah, and it's definitely a learning process. Like for yourself, is Anna your first character that you've ever made for RP?
No, I mean it's the first character I've ever made for GTARP. I've done previous role playing with like tabletop pen and paper role playing games, so I have made characters before, but this is the first time where I've made a character that has a detailed backstory and is a bit more developed. Like a lot of the time with the pen and paper stuff, I just focus on the skills and like a very basic story or character traits. But yeah, I put a lot of effort into doing the application because you need to put in the effort to get onto the whitelisted server. So I thought a lot about her backstory and actually like wrote up a big detailed background for her and answered all these Q&A questions. I even actually wrote a couple scripts of her interacting, like how she would do her DOC interview or how she might talk to someone in a cafe. So I did kind of a bit of a practice run with that kind of stuff.
Nice. And how long, like, sorry for kind of going and asking you questions, but I'm kind of curious as well. But because I know, like, I know looking back on things, like I watch Definitely Lex. She is the person who plays Mackenzie Blake. And I will go back and watch her stuff on her Twitch channel. That for the Kurt Ambrose escaping prison stuff, because it was so much fun doing that, and I love seeing her perspective from it. But I remember seeing you in her chat there, and I think I also saw you in like Mike Horrible's chats and stuff, and also
yeah, I'm a big Mike Horrible fan,
and also Haley as well, who plays Brandy Miller.
Yeah,
and so it was like, how long did it take for you to go from becoming a viewer to deciding you're going to take your shot at joining GTARP?
It's interesting because I started watching the GTARP, I can't remember exactly how long ago, but it was a few years ago. But I got into it first because I was watching this YouTuber called Call Me Kevin, and he did a bit of GTA stuff. He focused more on the comedy side of things. He had this character called like Grognak the Destroyer, attorney at law. So he was doing some stuff on NoPixel. But he was interacting with people like Ash and Roxmoral's Sherry character on there. And so I was just kind of following a few of them kind of casually and watching a bit on and off. But it was just sort of light entertainment for me. I'd watch now and then. But then I was watching Ash's stream one day, and then I'd just been watching very randomly, so I wasn't following any of the storylines. But then one day I tuned in and she was starting the stream, and it was actually Jasper doing his like video of torturing her that came up straight away. So I was just blown away by that, because I was like, what the hell is happening? There's this like comedy character I've been tuning into, and all of a sudden she's being held captive by a serial killer and being almost murdered. And then I started following like what Mike was doing with Jasper after he was on the run, and then I saw him doing the prison stuff and just got really interested in all his characters. So I started following him and watching a lot. But I was watching him pretty regularly after that point, but then he took a break. Maybe it was a year or so, but yeah, then I saw he was back on Onyx, so I started watching him and what was going on with Jasper being a lifer in the prison. So I think, I can't remember, I think it was like towards the end of November, December last year that I started getting into watching that. And so seeing like you and Haley and Mike and all the other people doing the prison stuff, it just really hooked me in. And I'm not quite sure what happened, but there was just at some point where I suddenly started thinking, you know what, maybe I want to do this as well. Yeah, I decided to put in an application. So I think it was after, 2 or 3 months of watching that stuff, I started getting more interested in doing it myself. I think it did help a lot, actually, that I saw that there was a need for more people to do DOC to give a bit more support to people who are doing the roleplay, like the lifer stuff in the prison. And I thought with the DOC, because that's something I could focus on as having something I can do without, that I can do with focus on that mechanics or having a job to do, because I did consider maybe making a lifer, but I think because I'm very new to the roleplay, it's easier if I have some sort of job to focus on rather than just standing around trying to come up with conversations. So if I have something to do, it will make things a bit easier to ease into it, even if it is a bit hard to learn like all the mechanics and stuff. But yeah, but I've been I started doing like role-playing games with friends in like late high school. So yeah, I've done role-playing for quite a few years, but I hadn't really done it that much for the past few years until I've started doing this GTA roleplay stuff. But yeah, a long answer to that question, but yes.
That was nice.
Yeah,
all right, what's your next one? Sorry.
Yeah, have you done any other types of role-playing games, like, around the table stuff, or like other online role-playing games?
So the only other, besides obviously the IMVU, which was the text-based RP thing, when I was doing my psychologist character on NoPixel 2.0, a group of people wanted to do a D&D thing. And at first I was very hesitant. I was like, nope, not doing it. Not touching that with the 10-foot pole. That sounds like just like, whatever. But then a group of people ended up convincing me to do it. And we ended up doing a one-shot, which I still don't really understand. I think a one-shot is just like a one and done type thing, because that's what it ended up being.
It's just you do it over one day rather than weeks and weeks.
And I wasn't fully... I wasn't comprehending exactly what was going to go into it, so I know I kind of started off rough, but I had an amazing time. Is literally sitting there doing RP and sitting there kind of creating this thing, and it was a lot of fun. But then no one wanted to do it again. I'm like, motherfuckers, you guys dragged me in here. You got me hooked on this, and now you're leaving me? I'm like, oh my God, I was like, and actually I'm trying to find people to do D&D stuff with now, because I think that would be an awesome way to get my RP itch out of the way.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I did a little bit of D&D, but actually I got started in the White Wolf World of Darkness stories. So I don't know if you've had any exposure to those, but they were pretty cool. Because they had stuff like mages and like vampire stories and ghosts and demons, all this kind of stuff. But I also played a few games. There's a few which are actually like Warhammer focused, which you might have some interest in. Like there's Rogue Trader and what's the like Dark Heresy. I did this Dark Heresy group with a bunch of friends, and yeah, that was really entertaining.
Yeah, because I've heard there's a lot of different versions. Like, for example, very weird story. I know people usually don't go to places like this for this, but anyways, I was at a strip club one night, and there's one of the dancers was coming over, trying to get a dance, whatever. I didn't want it. I was like, no. But then I saw this tattoo on her back, and I asked her about the tattoo, and she went in and saying that this is kind of like the type of character that I play for this. I can't remember what it was. It seemed like some weird kind of vampire D&D type thing. But it's like she literally sat down and she probably talked for like an hour going on and on about how her character was one of those people that even if someone is potentially infected, they would go and just wipe out everyone in the area just to make sure that no infection would kind of like, kind of go in that. And I'm sitting there listening to her talk about that. I'm like, holy crap, like that is kind of cool too. And it's like just seeing that there's so many different versions of D&D or D&D style type things. I was like, that was really kind of cool.
Yeah, I had a vampire character in Vampire the Masquerade that I really enjoyed playing. Yeah, what do you like most about RP, by the way? I mean, what do you think that you get out of it?
Storytelling. I love storytelling. I don't know how many of my characters you're familiar with, but every single one of my characters that I have, I go through an insane amount of detail with backstory. For me, for my characters, backstory is very important. And also having the goal set up and seeing where I can get to the goals, because it's not one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then yay, it's going to be awesome. It's like, no, you get a general idea, and then you kind of see where it goes through all your different interactions. And also like coming up with flaws, because something that'll, I think a lot of people do is they want to be the badass. They want to be like, oh my God, look at me, I'm amazing at everything. That's not entertaining. That's not interesting. I mean, for some things, not sure, but if every single person is walking around like they're the main character, it's like, then nothing's going to happen because everyone's waiting for things to happen for themselves. So I would always make these elaborate backstories and also make certain things that are certain weaknesses. I'm trying to think of the word for it. I can't think of it.
Character flaws?
Yeah, exactly. flaws. Like everyone needs to have flaws. Flaws are what make things entertaining. Like you see a bunch of people who are always chasing the win. It's like, why chase the win? That's exhausting. Collect the L's, because the L's are what helps kind of create your story and help give you a really good character arc. And one example I'll give to this is when I was doing my Stephen Alexander story. So Stephen Alexander was a cult leader from Canada, came down to Los Santos because one of the people that was in the cult back in the 80s, this was on ONXRP when I played a similar character. He wanted to come back here and try to, see if he can collect anyone from there. But one of the victims was Lola Amante Hart. And she took the injuries that she got from interacting with Stephen and all the torture that he did on her, and she had it going for months, like her rehabilitation and everything. Like I saw that and I was just like, oh my God. I was like, yes, like that is cool. It's it's one of those things where you see people where they have something happen to them and they let it continue going on and on and on. It's not like, oh, I took all the shots to the vest, I'm fine, blah, blah, blah. It's like, there's such a great opportunity to expand on things there. I think some people just take the shortcut just to get right back into things when you can slow down and you can take your time and you can be like, how can this affect my character? What can this do something bad for my character? Maybe positive. Maybe now I'm going to be scared of, like, say, going into a dark room or going into an alley or going into a certain food shop or going into a certain area of the map, all these kinds of things. So that is something I love, is the storytelling and just seeing how people take interactions and how they expand on it with their own stuff.
Yeah, it's really great working with other people and seeing what they bring to things. Because there's some times where I've gone in with a plan for a certain conversation. I'm like, okay, this is how it's probably going to go. And then they'll bring something up that I haven't even thought of and go, oh yeah, that's a very good point. Or I'll just, have something random happen, which is really surprising.
And then it just takes your whole idea and just tosses it right out the window. And you're sitting there afterwards. You're like, holy fuck, that was awesome. Like, I did not see that coming, but that was great.
Speaking of character flaws as well, I did try to put with my character Anna about one of her flaws might be that she's easily distracted, but I think it may have just been happening naturally. Maybe I am getting easily distracted in game, because there was one funny moment where I was just totally buried in my MDW and in the yard and nothing much was happening. I was like PD that was calling me over radio like 3 times, and it took me like 3 times to realize that they were calling me. Then finally I was like, yeah, sorry, what did you want? And I was talking on the wrong channel, and I don't know, it was just quite hilarious to me looking back at it.
Yeah, well, it's like one of those things too, like something that a lot of people don't understand is working in the prison as a DOC guard. It is a very boring job. There is, especially say in the time zone that you do, there's not a lot that happens. Like even in the city, there's not a lot that's happening in that time. And so you got a lot of time when you're just sitting there, you're probably like going around and trying to do little things in the prison. Like you can only search the prison so many times and there's only so many people you can contact before you're just kind of standing there. And a lot of times you're just kind of twiddling your thumbs. And it's one of those things where you can definitely get distracted from that or not even realize something is happening sometimes because you're standing in the yard and sometimes you'll be alone, not make a single interaction with anyone for like 3 or 4 hours sometimes. I think my longest streak that I went without having any sort of interaction with someone, I think it was like 8 hours. I think it was like 8 hours and I hadn't seen a single person. And of course, that's when the questions kind of come to your head, like, why am I even doing this right now? It's like, why am I here? But then when certain things do happen, you're like, oh my God, that was great. It's like, I'm glad I'm doing this. And that's one thing I do wish that people would realize. And it's also a reason why I did some of my characters was because for some of my characters, whenever I do the prison, when I'd be sent up to prison or when I had my lifer in prison, like the amount of RP that I got from those people, I wanted to be able to do that for other people and also do it for the other DOC people too. I wanted to give them some RP because the DOC is a very thankless job, is a very boring job. And when usually nothing is happening, but when something happens, everything happens all at once. And it can be very kind of like, oh my God type thing, which is why you always see the DOC numbers. The DOC numbers might go up a little bit and then they drop right back down because people realize it's like, this is not like an exciting job. It's a job that I think is needed, but I think you have to have a certain kind of mindset for it. because it's not going to be go, go, go. It's quite literally going to be like you got to realize you're going to be standing there probably by yourself, maybe with one other DOC guard, maybe two if you're lucky, for like hours on end, trying to find things to do for yourselves.
Yeah, it's funny. I originally thought maybe that's not such a bad thing because in my head I was like, okay, maybe while I'm waiting around for something to happen, I'll just do something off to the side. Like maybe I'll try to write song lyrics or like do some drawing. But I think the trouble is you need to kind of still be switched on and aware of what's happening, even when you're just standing there doing nothing. So I do find it challenging to try to do something else off to the side while you're doing that. So, but I don't know, it might be something that comes with practice potentially.
Yeah, and then the times that you're like, I'm going to get out of the prison, I'm going to go do something. And that's when you hear people complaining. It's like, there's no DOC around. Where are the DOC? It's like, motherfucker, I've been sitting in that prison for the last 5 fucking hours and there's no one. I leave for like 15 minutes. I'm getting angry fucking phone calls. It's like, what the fuck? It's like, that's something that I think, and that's also why when I know we're kind of jumping around, but that's why when I was on Tim, as soon as I would see anyone come up, I'd go right up to him. It's like, hey, do you want to go to cell block 4 and do some woodworking or something? Just to give them something to do, to show them it's like, hey, we are there, we do stuff.
Yeah, I've been doing that a lot as well. I think people really appreciate it when I show them around and get them to do stuff in there. Yeah, it's funny what people do with it sometimes as well. Like there was one inmate that I brought in there and she like did like /me, like pretends to have like drill in her pocket. So when I was searching her on the way out, so that kind of cracked me up.
Yeah, no, it's nice because I mean, I'm sure you've gone through it, and it's something that can be very disheartening is when you've been standing there for a couple hours and you're standing between like the intake and the visitation, and someone just runs right past you. And you're like, hey, and they don't even say anything, and that's kind of when you're like, why am I doing this? But then when you have interactions like with that lady, it's like, okay, this was great. This is worth it.
Yeah. No, it's funny. The other day, I think I had told you that when Ryan was on duty, I saw a Twinster post where he was like saying, oh, it's so quiet. I hate it here. And like, I sent him a text message and I was on the game phone. And I was like, oh, yeah, sorry. Hope your shift isn't like too, slow for the rest of it, or hope you're doing okay. And then a few hours later, I see all these like messages or notes about how there was a terrorist attack on the prison and he was like shooting down a helicopter and there was like a sniper attacking him and PD and FIB everywhere. So it kind of goes from like 0 to 100 sometimes.
Yeah, which is also amazing. It's nice.
Okay, so I might talk a bit more about character stuff. So people have often said that you tend to play psycho characters. Would you agree with that?
I like to play very complex characters. I don't like to do anything where it's just like I think the most non-complex character I would have played would have been my psychologist character back on NoPixel 2.0. But besides that, I like to try to do something that's different, that not a lot of people do. For example, the first character that I got known for at all was Jesse Skid. And this is back on NoPixel. I started playing around with how to do them during NoPixel 1.0, just before 2.0 happened. And the main idea was it was this kid. He was pretty much like, I think he was 24 years old. He had schizophrenia. He had this idea that, these beings from up above, aliens for the most part, are pretty much are controlling everyone and controlling everything that's happened. And what needs to happen is the power needs to come down so that the people of Los Santos can see the aliens for what they are, and the people that are working for the aliens, because the power is also, it's like hiding them in plain sight so they can move among us and all this kind of stuff. And so I went with this thing, and that's also where I came up with the idea of so I did 5 to 6 weeks of research into schizophrenia before I did this, because whenever I do characters like these, especially that has to do with any sort of mental illness, I'm not here for the lulls. I'm not here for the laughs. I'm not here for the likes. I'm here to try to tell a story. I'm trying to be as true, as realistic as I can, because especially when it comes to mental illness, it's not something to laugh at. It's not something to make fun of. And so I wanted to make sure that I'm doing that character justice. Obviously, there will be some liberties given here and there, but it's something I want to make sure I'm doing the best job I can to kind of represent, say, that kind of mental illness as realistically as possible. So I went in, I took a bunch of clips and things off YouTube, put them into, I think, Audacity, before I kind of started knowing what some of these Premiere things were. And I would make these like 3-4 hour long audio files where you would hear the voices that were going on inside his head. because I would have like a 3 or 4 hour loop of all this kind of stuff, which was a basic kind of like it sounded like little girls kind of chanting a little bit almost. There's also a couple other things, and every now and then there'd be different voices that would speak up and say different things that just kind of like and I would have him interact with the voices. Like if the voices went and said something, I would go and I would respond to it, and sometimes I would be saying it like not pushing the push the talk button. Sometimes I'd just say it so that the stream could hear what like Jesse's thinking. But sometimes, especially when he's all amped up and he's very emotional, I would hit the push the talk button so that people could hear him saying things. That way people are like, wait, what the fuck was that? What did he just say? Why did you say that? And kind of go through all that kind of stuff. And that is also, I think that's where I kind of became known for a little while was, and I'm going to say this, the single greatest role player, like for GTARP period, I don't care what anyone says, hands down for me is Kiwo. Kiwo, she's from the UK. She was playing law enforcement. She's one of those people who could, I swear to God, she could probably play any kind of character that you threw at her. The big thing with my favorite thing about Kiwo is not only is she fantastic at doing the RP, but she will also take the time and she will try to get other people's stories heard and seen. Because when Kiwo first came to 2.0 and she's playing Law Enforcer, I think she had something like 5,000 people watching her at a time. So, you know, so she's a decent sized streamer, and she actually, I made a video of it on my YouTube thing, but it was, I put out so Jesse Skid, after about 6 months, he got arrested after doing something. I can't remember exactly what he did. And he's put up into Parsons, which was the mental health facility. And I would be up there by myself, like I would log on the server for like 6-8 hours a day. Sometimes I'd get phone calls. Sometimes I'd have people visit, but a lot of times I was kind of sitting up there by myself. And I did that for 90 days. It was 90 days straight the first time he was sent up to Parsons. But one day, because the way that Jesse was trying to do, he thought that the brand new group of cadets for the PD that came in were, you know, working for the ones from up above. Like they were working for the aliens, or some of them were aliens. And so he was trying to, like, you know, trying to figure out like if he could talk to any of these cadets and see what happens. So I think there's probably like 15-ish, maybe 10, 15 cops on duty. Jesse puts out a 311 and it says something to the lines of, this is Jesse Skid. I was told by Dr. Pixie Plum that I should reach out and try to have talks with some of the PD cadets and stuff like that to try to, you know, get over some of my stuff. And the only person who responded at all was Kiwo. You can see it from her point of view, where she was like, oh, look at this. And then she drove up to Parsons, and that's where we kind of started off in the story and she was able to help out with the story so much by just her interacting with my character, where it flourished. And she does that when she was doing GTRP, she would do that with everyone. She'd always try to get people's stories heard. She wasn't one of those people who was always me. She understood, I think what the big core concept of RP is, which is the only way to win RP is to make sure that everyone that you are interacting with is having fun. And so she would do that. She would see these stories and she would try to expose them to everyone else so that other people could be getting all this stuff, whether she'd be interacting with that person or not. She might just do something for a little bit of time and then move on to something else so that more people can go get onto that. But she was, like, again, she was the greatest RPer I think the GTA RP world has seen, and it really kind of sucks that she doesn't do it anymore. Because, yeah, she was absolutely fantastic, and I definitely wish that there was more people like her, because there are definitely a decent amount of selfish people out there who always want everything to be about them. But, like, people like her was always just trying to get other people in the spotlight and get other people's stories heard, which was absolutely fantastic, which for me is what RP is all about.
Yeah, that was really good. I don't think I've seen any of Kiwo's stuff, but yeah, I should check it out. I did watch a little bit of one of your Jesse Skid videos because I had heard about the whole like voices thing, so I just got a bit of an impression of that. But yeah, it was very cool. It was very interesting and yeah, quite creepy. But yeah, I'm guessing it would have. I think maybe you had mentioned even during that was a bit. It does have an effect on how you're playing, or it's a bit unsettling for yourself as well at times.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing with especially with Jesse Skid, because Jesse Skid had a stutter and he would talk very fast. The stutter ended up translating into my real life, where I would be I would be having conversations with people, and I would start stuttering because and Jesse would talk very fast and he would be stuttering. And so I would start doing that in real life. I'm like, motherfucker, like, oh my God, I gotta stop doing this. And it probably took a couple, like 2 or 3 months after I permit him that the stutter kind of slowly kind of started going away.
Okay. So I think you've kind of covered this, but the type of characters you normally like to play, so you like to focus on the complexity and flawed characters. So is there anything else that you like to bring into them or focus on?
So I also like to do the support role kind of characters. Like, for example, so after I permit Jesse Skid, I actually got reached out by the person who was running the pillbox hospital, and he's like, hey dude, the way that you went and did Jesse, the way that you kind of go into your backstory, and the way that you actually went and did research into, schizophrenia and all those kind of things, wondering if you'd like to come in and like be a psychologist, be a therapist at the hospital. And I didn't really know too much, but I mean, I love research, I love looking into things, and so I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So I went and started doing a bunch of things, and because of that, I got to be a support character for an absolutely amazing storyline where this lady who is a member of the Lost MC, her name was Catherine Scratch, Kate, played by Killer Beauty, and she had DID. Oh God, I can't remember exactly how it is. Yeah, DID. So pretty much for the layman, multiple personalities, and she actually did a year of research into it to really kind of play it. With that, and they kind of got dropped in my lap by another therapist character. I don't think they wanted to really kind of dive into that kind of stuff, but I'm game for everything. Any kind of RP you want to do, I am down for it. And so I started getting into this, and my God, like it definitely got me to a new level of being able to figure out how to do things and do things like a lot quicker than I was. Like instead of it taking maybe a good like 15-20 seconds to kind of think about what I'm going to do, is like things were just kind of coming off naturally for me with whatever situation I was in. And I had so much fun. I met so many people doing that kind of thing. I got to be a small little part in so many different people's stories, and I got to, help progress some stories, which felt absolutely amazing. I love doing that. So yeah, playing, some of the crazy / psycho characters. Also, I do enjoy doing the support role stuff, which is again kind of like what I was doing with Tim.
Yeah, one of the things that motivated me for getting into it was I really like being able to see the point of views from other people, and because not everyone is streaming or recording, and getting to see stuff that's happening from other people, if they're just like bystanders or kind of side characters, I just really appreciated being able to see that stuff. So I'm hoping I can do that for other people in some cases. So I think I do like to have, I've had some great chats or things that have come up with characters like Steve and Sven, where I've kind of found out a bit about their backstories, or they've talked about stuff that's happened, and yeah, it's been really interesting. So it's good to be able to capture that.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's your next one?
I don't know I guess you talk about doing a lot of research, but how else do you go about creating a characters and their backstory?
So I mean, it depends on what character I'm thinking of. Like the backstory stuff will go so many different ways. For example, one character I played on a server called TwitchRP. God, this is going back a few years. So after I left NoPixel 2.0 for a while, because I had put a very bad sour taste in my mouth that I needed to get away from. But so I left kind of RP for a bit. I went to another server. I can't remember the name of it. It was a smaller server. It's not around anymore. Then I went to TwitchRP, and I was playing around with a couple things. I did a kind of variation of Jesse. I went and did a psychologist thing, but I also did this one character with one of the other people, where it was a father-daughter team, so kind of like a serial killer type team. But the big thing was I was like, okay, well, how's the backstory going to go? So I sat down. I think I went over a weekend. I took a whole bunch of notes. I was like, okay, what is making them do what they do? And so I was like, okay, boom. So he was married. His wife left him for his best friend and pretty much abandoned him and his daughter, when she was like 11, 12 years old. And so from there, he was like, because they ended up taking the business away from him too. So he had nothing. All he had was his daughter. And so he was sitting there. He's like, it's me and you against the world. There's no one else that's ever going to be in our life, blah, blah, blah. And it even got to the point where when she was like older and getting ready to leave high school, like she had a boyfriend, and he ended up killing her boyfriend because it was like, no, it's me and her. No one else matters. I mean, there's other things that went on with the boyfriend as well, but things that really got him to want, that would make a lot of people want to go and do these kind of things. But then because of that, she ran away. And then it came to the thing where he was doing all this stuff where it's like, no, that's my little girl. She's like, my princess. I need to take care of her. It's me and her against everyone else. And so I wrote into his backstory where he heard from someone that she had been seen flying into Los Santos or San Andreas, sorry. And so he came into the city and he's looking for her, and then he found her, and because she had ran away, he wanted to show her it's just him and her against everyone else. So he would have her call up like a friend and they would go out and meet. He would come out with a gun. The two of them would drive, her friend out somewhere. He would sit there and he would make her like hurt her friends to be like, see, this is what has to happen. It's only me and you, no one else, blah, blah, blah. You need to remove these other people from your life. And then after, like, he would make her like beat their heads in with like a flashlight or something. He would be sitting there taking pictures that he'd put into a scrapbook type thing, which again, this is something that comes up with some of my later stories, leaving evidence for the police to find. I would have her like take little snippets of hair for like a souvenir, because all gray serial killers have like trophies and stuff like that and souvenirs. And so that was the thing, and that would go on for like I think that went on for a couple months before he ended up getting caught and stuff. And it's just, yeah, it's like everything comes from the backstory. Like with the backstory, it will, if you're ever questioning like how am I going to do something, it's like you're not going like, how would I do this? It'd be like, how is this guy going to do this? Like, what is he going to do? Like, what is he really kind of like? Because again, that's where it kind of comes from, where people kind of blur the lines with their character and them. Like when people go and hate on characters, like, why do they hate me? It's like, no, they don't hate you. They hate your character because your character's an asshole. And so that's why I'd always kind of do that, because you definitely do need that big kind of distinction between your character and yourself. And so that's one of the big reasons why I would go super heavy into backstory. Like I was prepared for people to ask me anything, and I'd have an answer for them about what happened with him in his past for all my characters.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I mean, although I've written a detailed backstory, I think I would still struggle if I was put on the spot with like very specific questions about her backstory, but I would probably just have to make something up and be like, okay, well, that's her story now.
Yeah, and that's the glorious thing. Like if someone kind of comes and asks you about something, you're like, ooh, I didn't think about that, but I'm gonna say this to the person, and then you can just add that to your backstory. Because backstories aren't a fixed thing. Like no one knows every single aspect about your character's backstory. Some people might hear a lot of it, but no one hears absolutely everything. So you can feel free to kind of massage it around a little bit. If something kind of pops in your head, like, oh my God, that's a much better idea, you can go and move things around a little bit.
That's right. It reminds me of something that was in Haley's Discord where I think a guy who plays Travis, he was really angry at himself because he had like accidentally said something like that he hated casseroles, but he remembered that he actually loved casseroles. It was just such a silly thing, but he was just kind of kicking himself for getting it backwards.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, for myself, I would go over my backstory over and over and over to try to keep it as cemented in my head as I could, which is also why I usually play one character at a time, or at least one different character at a time, because you don't want the backstories to kind of bleed into each other and kind of make big mistakes, because everyone's going to make a mistake. It's going to happen. You just kind of roll with it and just play ignorant sometimes too. Okay.
So what inspiration do you use for your characters? Like, do you get stuff from like books and movies, other things?
Everything. I get it from books. I get it from movies. I get it from video games. For example, did you see anything about the Stephen Alexander stuff?
I listened to the audio journals that you had on YouTube, but I've sort of heard bits here and there about Stephen, but I don't know a lot about his story. Okay, well, so the very first time I played a character from that cult was actually back on NoPixel in 3.0, because after I'd left NoPixel and near the end of 2.0, and I was on TRP for a while, I ended up leaving TRP, and a couple people, actually the people who were doing the DID storyline, they reached out, they're like, hey,
you should see some of the cool things we have for 3.0 now. There's a lot of things that you can do, like not just mechanic wise, but there's certain things that you can pop. Like you can go out and buy a tent and you can pop up a tent somewhere. The slash me's, also the scenes. Oh my God, the scenes were a huge thing because back in 2.0, if you wanted to leave a scene, you would have to have a notepad and take a page of the paper and put it on the ground.
Right.
So if you would have like a scene with like a bunch of blood on it, you would sit there and you'd have to walk up to this piece of paper. You'd have to look at it. What it says is like, oh, there's blood everywhere, because that's what's written on the piece of paper on the note. And so like scenes were a huge thing, because I mean scenes can help paint such a great picture for what's going on in the environment and what's around you. I think it's so much more immersive. So I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And that's actually where I met Ash. I ended up meeting Ash there because she got involved in the story. And so his name was Samuel Alexander. And he was a young guy, again, probably like 24 years old. He wasn't all there and he's very scared. He had been kidnapped when he was a young kid by, probably a few years prior, by this cult. And where I took a lot of my inspiration from this cult from was the game Far Cry 5. So you got the father, you got, the certain kind of disciple type people, and each of the disciples had a different kind of specialty that they were involved in. And so I took that and I listened to different parts of the story. I'm like, okay, so I took the base kind of idea from the story and I put my own weird creativity on it. And that's where I came up with all these things where you had to go through these 5 trials to become a member of the cult. Like the first one was you kind of had to prove that you wanted to be in the cult. So I don't think I really went through it with Samuel's. But for my Joseph and my Stephen Alexander storylines, like it was, obviously they were taken when they were very young, probably like 6 years old or so. Their family was murdered in front of them. They would do a thing where they were pretty much gaslit into killing their father. And then they were hugged and welcomed into this, small group of people when they took them off and pretty much started brainwashing and indoctrinating them. And then the trials would go through, like the first one, I think, that I just kind of made generic for each of them because they're all on different servers, was they would be taken out somewhere, given a small bottle of water, no food, and they'd be out there with one of the other, chosen people, because there'd be 4 people that would be the chosen. And what they would be is once they hit of age of about 20, 21, one of them would be picked to become the next father. Didn't matter if you're a boy or girl, the father would be the one that you would end up becoming. That it's just like a name type thing. And so he was out with the thing, and then they would walk. They're told to walk in a certain direction until they got to a point and they'd know when they saw it. And anyways, they thought they were lost. They were starving. The other guy ended up kind of giving up, and the character would be like, oh my God, this is my opportunity. Like, yes, he's giving up, so I'm going to use him to be able to finish what I need to do. So he would pick up a rock and smash his head in, use his blood as like nourishment, so that, because he had no more water left, hadn't eaten in like a week or so, and then was able to use that energy from, using the other person's body as a food and drink source to kind of finish off their quote unquote quest to kind of work their way up to the next set of trials. And so, yeah, kind of, going off, I can't remember what your question was. I know it kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent, but
just about inspiration for characters.
Oh yeah, so yeah, I will take it from everything. If I see something interesting from books, movies, TV shows, or video games, and I think it's something that I can kind of take that basic idea and make it my own, I'll go and do it because yeah, I think it's just it kind of just sets the framework, and then you just build everything else around it.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing that I'd like to do a bit is I make playlists for my characters and use that almost as an influence on figuring out what kind of character they are, or what sort of mood they have as well.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. See, me, I don't listen to a lot of music. I'm not a big music person, so that's hard for me. Like, I've tried making playlists for characters, but I'm just like, whatever, it's music. It doesn't do anything for me, so I kind of gave up on that too.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, with Anna's backstory as well, part of it is inspired by a Ben Folds 5 song, actually, called Army. So there's a line in there about how the band broke up without me, and they reformed, got back together in May or something. So I just kind of put that into a backstory, that she was in a band that broke up and then they reformed without her.
They just left her behind. Poor
Yep.
Anna.
Okay, do you have a favorite out of your characters, or like a top 3 or something?
I wouldn't say favorite. because each of them gave me something different. Like, for example, Jesse Skid, he allowed me to, do something where he was a very timid, very shy person. He was very passionate. He wanted to help people, but he was sick. Like, he had schizophrenia. So the things that he was seeing and things that he were hearing wasn't really what was going on. And so his version was skewed. And he was like a very tragic kind of character where it's just like he wanted to do good. He was just sick. And so that kind of gave me a thing. And then again, like, I mean, then shifting over to the therapist, the psychologist thing, like I had so much fun with that. That was the first time I kind of ran into burnout though, because I was doing like 18-hour, because this is when COVID first kind of came out. And so I was home from
Right.
work a lot of the time. So, yeah, because January 2020 is when Jesse Skid died. February is when I became a psychologist. And because obviously you get prio with being a doctor, I was spending like 18-hour days in the server. And I was doing all this stuff and I got burnt out. Like after a month, I was like fried. I was like, okay, let's calm this down. Let's keep it to about 10 hours max. And the only time that I would
Even that
get
is a lot.
yeah, even that is a lot. Even though you see some people like Kiwo was she was her own worst enemy because she would do like 36 fucking hour streams sometimes. And it's like, oh my God. But yeah, and then like for there, like I got to be part of that DID story, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. And honestly, it's just seeing how other people react to the characters. Like something I would do is I would go back and watch other people's streams I interacted with. Again, this isn't to go and like collect meta because metagaming is a horrible thing, but I wanted to make sure people were enjoying what I was doing and hearing the positive things people were seeing after the interactions. It made me feel good. It made me go like, okay, great. So because what I would do is, again, the big thing about RP is make sure everyone that you're involved in is enjoying what you're doing. So I would go and watch these things, and if people weren't enjoying what I was doing, I'd be like, okay, no, that's fair, and I would kind of pull back away from RPing with that character, not because I was angry, but because I was like, okay, maybe they're not enjoying it all that much. I'll just kind of maybe I'll taper it away from them a little bit, maybe get away from them because not everyone is going to enjoy what you do. You're never going to be everyone's cup of tea, and so I'd always try to do it where I was making sure that the people I was doing things with were actually enjoying it because that was a huge thing for me. And then, yeah, I mean, especially when we get into some of my serial killer type characters, like the energy that people gave me when it was like, hey, are you willing to be tortured? And some of the responses I would get, like the just sheer joy that people would get, like, oh my God, fuck, yes, let's do this. And it was just like that feeling too, just seeing people's excitement of getting tortured was just absolutely amazing. And another thing, something that I think people don't really think about a lot, with a lot of my, especially my serial killer characters and my psychos, the big reason that I would do those characters too is because I wanted the PD to get a big W. Because this was a big thing back in NoPixel, where, especially when a lot of the big streamers started coming in, the PD would be like, some of them were getting like real life like death threats and stuff like that for some of these things because oh my
Seriously?
God, it's like, oh my God, you arrested my favorite streamer, all those kinds of things. and
Right. Yeah.
and and of course, like some criminals, they're so in it, they like have an objective in their mind, and I'm just going to call it, it's going to be like they're chasing the W, and they don't want to, because RP is all about give and take. You can't just take everything, you have to give some too. And so cops would get worn down and worn down and worn down, and if you don't have cops on a server, then a server is going to turn into a GTA Online server, and that's it. And then the server's going to die. It's just going to become a horrible, toxic place. So you need the PD. You need the PD. You need the doctors. You need the EMS. DOC is a nicety. I guess you probably don't need it, but I love DOC stuff. But it's one of those things again where it's like when you have those people there, they need something too, because if all they're doing is getting abused day in and day out, that gets exhausting after a while. You need to give them something. And so all of my characters from Jesse Skid up to, Samuel Alexander, Joseph Alexander, Stephen Alexander, Kurt Ambrose, the end goal was always going to be for the PD to come out on top. Because, and this is going to be a big thing too, so when you're playing these psycho type characters, you need to have an end state. You can't have one of these characters that's just always going on and on, always going to be there, because that's when you get people who just get kind of burnt out on listening to the same kind of thing all the time. It's like, that person did that thing again? Okay. So I would always give myself a general time limit between like 9 and 10 months, and at the end of it, it'd be done. Or it could end up a lot sooner too, where it's like if I get caught doing something earlier on, and I didn't get through, like say all the victims that I wanted to do, I was like, guess what? The PD, they did their job. They found out what they were doing, and they were able to collect enough evidence to get you arrested and get you, charged with a bunch of stuff. So boom, they found you. It's time to kind of do things to kind of wrap up your story. You don't need to kind of keep going on and on and on with it. It might suck for you because you want to go and do a lot of stuff, but you got to think about the other side too. Because if you're always doing the same thing, as interesting as it might be right away, if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over, like non-stop, like back to back to back to back, it's going to get exhausting after a while. You can't, when you create those characters, you need to have an end goal in mind. It doesn't mean you have to have the end goal be like really quick. Like it can, like slow burn is best burn in my opinion. And so it can take a while, but you need to have the end goal. Because if you're like, oh, I'm going to have this serial killer and he's going to be around forever, like there's nothing that's going to stop him, then it's kind of like, yeah, that's just going to burn people out from your story.
It just makes me think of that, like, was it like Kenneth character though? Because, I mean, he's a serial killer that is sort of been around for a lot, I believe, but I don't think he gets old though. But I don't know, maybe he's just like mixed up his story a lot about what he's done with things. Not that I've really followed it closely.
Yeah, I think from what I saw, because I don't follow No Pixel at all, I'm pretty sure he's still there. But yeah, it's like he's had that character like through multiple kind of iterations. As it's like, yeah, it's been there for a long, long time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So speaking of endpoints for characters, I mean, you've killed off your fair share of characters or permed them. And how do you feel about going through that process, and have you ever regretted killing off a character?
Especially with the stories that I usually do, you need to have an end. So I always know that my characters aren't going to last a long time, that they are going to have an end point at some point, and usually it's probably going to be a perma. The one that definitely hit me was Jesse Skid. Actually, you might even be able to hear it in the video, but when I did the last little part when I was saying like, Miss Tessa, Miss Lauren, can't remember, Kizzy was the psychologist I was doing. Like I was like crying at that point because I had spent so much time and I love this character and I got a lot of love because of that character. So it was a turning point. It was an end point for that kind of thing. And it definitely did kind of suck, but there's definitely other ways I would have liked to kind of gone to, but I was so happy with the ending and I wouldn't change it for the world. I think the ending was good. And same thing with a lot of my psychopath characters. They all pretty much ended about how I was hoping they would. The only one that was I kind of wish I would have done a little bit differently would have been Kurtz. I had something else in mind, but there's also some IRL factors that were kind of coming into play. So I was like, I can't have this kind of extend out a little bit longer because he was definitely going to be put to death. But with things that were going on, I was like, I kind of think I need to wrap this up. But at the end of the day, I could have had it kind of go through because the thing didn't end up happening. And so I was like, fuck, because the perma, it's like he pretty much died in the police chase. And the big thing that made me decide to perma him there was I kind of did the roll the dice in my head where it's like he got wedged between some trees. He got gunned down by the cops, but the cops didn't call for EMS. No one was doing anything. They just left him there.
Yeah, they were just like standing around high-fiving each other, basically.
And so I was sitting there, I was like, he just got shot a bunch of times. I'm like doing a kind of like a count in my head. I'm like, if someone doesn't start doing something like the next 30 seconds, I'm just going to perma him. And then it took like 2 minutes, and then that's when Casanova came up, and she's like, where's he? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, wait, no one's doing first aid on him? What the fuck? And so she started doing it, but I was like, it was too late at that point. Like, yeah, it was like, yeah, like you said, they were just standing around all getting high fives and stuff. So I was like, okay, well, this is going perma. I wish I could have, I wish I would have done it longer. I would have loved to have seen him go through a trial and also get put up against a wall and shot because, again, the big reason I made Kurt Ambrose as the lifer was because I was doing it for the DOC. Because the DOC had given me so much RP for my Steven Alexander storyline that I wanted to kind of give back. And so that was my way of why I wanted to give back, which I still did a lot of stuff, but I would have loved to have been able to give them the satisfaction of having them put me up against a wall and them shooting me.
Well, you gave them the core of death, so that gave them a lot of RPs too.
That was something that, like that right there, that decision came within that was about a 48-hour decision. It was something where because Pirate Dork, who played Cora Hartley, she was getting a little burnt out with DOC, and she was ready to kind of move on. But no one wanted to kill her. No one wanted to kill Cora because it's like everyone loves Cora. Cora is such a lovable character. Like everyone, like if you go back and you watch Pirate Dork's YouTube thing of the day that she died, like the amount of love that you could see her getting from people was just absolutely fantastic, and it's deserved. And the thing that got me to decide to go down that route was there was two people that were coming up, and they're like, hey, we're going to break you out of here, blah blah blah. And not me, Kurt was getting a little bit kind of like pissed off because they weren't getting back to him, and because they're like, yeah, tomorrow we're going to do this. So I had Kurt awake for like 8 hours that day. I'm like, fuck, where are they? And then they weren't doing it the next day. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, that's when I was like, I DM Pirate Dork, I'm like, hey, do you still want to kill Cora? And she just goes like, yes, why? I'm like, I have an idea. Because at that point there, I had no idea what I was going to do. Like, I didn't even think about having Kurt like get out of jail and what he was going to do outside of jail. But as soon as I sent that DM to her, all these ideas just flooded into my brain. And I was like, okay, this can be good. And then so I was able to do the perma for Cora, and then also get Kurt out of the prison at the same time.
Yeah, no, that was a lot of fun watching that. No, I was glad I was a viewer during that period because, I mean, although it would have been fun to be involved, it was great to get to see everything play out.